You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, it took overtime, but Sam Merrills' career night gives the Cavs a big win over the Houston Rockets. The Sacramento Kings continue to be dominant at home as they dominate the Washington Wizards, and the shocker of the night belongs to the Bulls as Kobe White continues to prove why he is an all-star caliber player. We got a lot to break down on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, nation. You already know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United, your Sacramento Kings, Chicago Bulls, and Cleveland Cavaliers post-game reaction podcast. And I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into today's show. And you can find Let 'em Know Kings United, which is 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, and wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on the platforms. If you can, please turn on your notifications so you know about today's episode or so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It is a great way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning into today's episode. It is quite frankly, or it was, quite frankly, a Victory Monday on Monday night as all three of our teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and Chicago Bulls, got big-time dubs on a Monday. And we're not going to waste any time, and we are going to get down to some victory business. First and foremost, the win that we are going to talk about first is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who got a 135-130 overtime win over the Houston Rockets. Now, before I even get into it, I need to credit the Houston Rockets for this. I know they are one of the worst teams in the NBA. I think, sadly, the Chicago Bulls play a much worse record on the road than the Houston Rockets. I think Chicago is like 3-10 on the road this year compared to the Houston Rockets 2-10 on the road. But I gotta hand it to Houston, you know. They are a really, really talented squad, okay? And they might be 2-10 away from the Toyota Center in Houston, but let me tell you something. Them boys don't play like a 2-10 on the road team. They might be 13-11, but that's a team that if you are like in the Western Conference, they could be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, take it from the Sacramento Kings, right? The Kings got absolutely dominated, not once but twice, from the Houston Rockets, right? So be on the lookout for the Houston Rockets, especially in the near future. But it's not about the Houston Rockets. It's not about head coach Ime Udoka. And it sure as hell ain't about Dylan Brooks. It is about the Cleveland Cavaliers, how they now tied the second longest overtime winning streak in NBA history. Now, wait a minute. Let me push the pause button for a second. I did not know that the Cleveland Cavaliers have an overtime winning streak. I mean, did anyone else know that? I mean, am I like the only person that heard about this? No, I can't be the only person that's ever heard of an overtime winning streak from the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? They are tied with the New Orleans Pelicans who own the record with 13 victories in a row from 2006 to 2008. They are the second longest, I'm speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers here, the second longest overtime winning streak in NBA history. That is pretty darn cool if you are a Cavaliers fan. They outscored the Houston Rockets 13-8 in overtime. And we all know that Donovan Mitchell, he did his thing, right, with 37 points. But the story of the game to me was Sam Merrill off the bench. He had a career-high 19 points on the night. And if anybody has not heard about the name Sam Merrill, y'all better know his name. Y'all better study his name. Y'all better read the scouting report, because this man is a sharp shooter. He is a sharp shooter like the sharp cheddar cheese grater. Let me tell you something. Sam Merrill is a knockdown three-point shooter. I've seen this man perform in the Cleveland Cavaliers Summer League. You know, the Cavaliers are the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions in the Summer League, okay? Sam Merrill and Amani Bates are absolute studs. They are absolute dogs. But Sam Merrill specifically, he is getting a really, really big opportunity with Darius Garland, unfortunately being out for a couple of weeks due to a tragic broken jaw that I mentioned a couple shows ago. He has an opportunity now to take advantage of the minutes that he's getting. And I'm telling you right now, let him know, nation. Keep an eye on Sam Merrill. This guy is going to be something special. Donovan Mitchell said something about Sam Merrill. That's what he does. That's who he is. I've been playing pickup games against him since he was at Utah State and I was with the Jazz. When hard work meets opportunity, it's a beautiful thing to see. And there is something really telling about Sam Merrill. When I think about Sam Merrill, when I think about his three-point shooting prowess, when you think about the work that he puts in and practice every day, all I can think about is hard work pays off. And it pays off for Sam Merrill, and more importantly, it paid off for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who, I will admit, I thought the Houston Rockets were going to take advantage of this game. I mean, the Cavs are clearly shorthanded, and I honestly thought Houston would have been a tougher matchup for Cleveland in the homestand, and I honestly thought that the Rockets were going to win this game. Now, granted, I will take the win from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Believe me, I will take the win. But I honestly thought in my mind and in my heart that the Houston Rockets would have been a tough matchup to handle compared with the Atlanta Hawks. But Donovan Mitchell, Sam Merrill, Isaac Okoro, who made big-time plays, Jared Allen, who made big-time plays, really helped the Cavs get this big-time win. But you got to give credit to the Houston Rockets as well. They got some pretty sharp shooting scores, okay? You got Fred VanVleet, the former longtime Toronto Raptor, who knows how to shoot. Dylan Brooks, who is an absolute stud when he's mature enough. And Alperen Sengun. Keep an eye on this guy. I think he might be an NBA All-Star this year. Sengun made one free throw with 36 seconds left to tie it, and Karis LeVert made missed a three-pointer on the possession, and Sengun's fade away at the buzzer when rimmed out. Sengun said something about the loss. We're doing great on offense, which you can tell, but not so much on defense. Me being in foul trouble tonight didn't help, but we are not doing as good on defense as we usually do. I honestly think that the improvement of the Houston Rockets is going to potentially come. It's going to come down to if the Houston Rockets could lock in defensively. If they can do good on defense as much as they are really talented and really good on offense, they could be something special in the future, but not right now. Not right now. The Cavaliers have won both of their games since announcing that the starting forward Evan Mobley and Darius Garland will likely be out to at least February. Hey, you're 2-0 without your All-Stars. That's pretty impressive. Will the ride continue? Will the stride continue? I don't think so. It might continue tonight against Utah, but it could be a trap game because without Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, it could continue to be by committee, and that is exactly what Donovan Mitchell talked about. Every game, it's going to be by committee. Adding that his right shoulder was sore after running into the basket stanchion. But honestly, it's time for us to start winning. No excuses. You know what? I love that mentality from Donovan Mitchell. And I've been hearing a whole lot of rumors that Donovan Mitchell could possibly be traded. I heard the Brooklyn Nets have a trade clause for him. I know that the Miami Heat, it triggers me just saying it and mentioning that name, but they did have something to say about Donovan Mitchell. Well, right now, Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier until I see something different. Max Strus and Karis LeVert made impacts, 17 and 12 points respectively. And Sam Merrill made 5 of 10 three-pointers in a career-high time 24 minutes. It's for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are now 2-0 in a 4-game homestand. Sam Merrill said something about this win. He said, "I'm grateful for Coach JB, for Coach in his trust in me." That's a pretty cool stat about our record in overtime. He didn't know that. And honestly, kid, I didn't know either, so I'm not the only one that doesn't know about this overtime stat. But there were 22 fouls called and 27 free throws attempted in the third quarter when Cleveland scored a season-high 42 points and carried a 99-98 advantage into the fourth quarter. It was a really high-scoring third quarter between both teams, and at times, it was a little physical. It was a little rough and tough a little bit, but the Cavaliers were able to hold on and outscoring the Houston Rockets 13-8 in the overtime period to extend their overtime winning streak, which is pretty cool. But what is also pretty cool is the Cavaliers got another win. And without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, it's going to take wins by committee. But hey, you're 2-0. You're 2-0 without them. This could potentially be 3-0 tonight against the Utah Jazz. But like I said, it could be a trap game depending on how the Cleveland Cavaliers prepare for this game. 48% for the field for Cleveland, 46% from Houston, 39% from three for Cleveland, 36% from three for Houston. The rebounds were 47-38 in favor of the Houston Rockets, which I was surprised by that because I thought Cleveland was going to be the team that won the rebounding battle, but I digress. The assist numbers were 34-29 in favor of Houston. The steals were 9-7 in favor of Houston, but the blocks were 8-5 in favor of Cleveland. The points in the paint, the Houston Rockets beat them by 10, 60-50. The fast break points were 13-12 in favor of Houston. So technically, the Houston Rockets had an advantage as far as the stats, but at the end of the day, it is about the scoreboard, and that's where the Cleveland Cavaliers had the advantage. Fred VanVleet did really well for Houston. He had 27 points, 17 assists that he had on the night with 8 rebounds, and a couple of steals and a big-time block. Alfred Sengun, watch out for this guy. He could be an all-star. 24 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and a steal. Dylan Brooks, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He had a plus-minus of 0. I find that really hard to believe. Jeff Green, Uncle Jeff, had 15 points and 3 assists on the night. Jalen Green, 12 points, 3 assists, and 6 big rebounds. As far as the Cleveland Cavaliers, you already know Donovan Mitchell does Donovan Mitchell things. 37 points. He had 2 blocks, 6 assists, and a rebound. Jared Allen continues to ball out with 10 points. He had 6 rebounds and 2 assists on the night. Isaac Okoro, 11 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Max Strus, 17 points. He was 3 for 9 from three-point range, but he had 3 rebounds and 2 assists on the night. But the biggest story was Sam Merrill, a career-high 29 points and a career-high tying 24 minutes with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. He was a plus-minus, a plus 13. Look, if it's got to be by committee, that's how you do it. I want to see more reps from Sam Merrill, though. I would put him on at point guard and then put Max Strus probably in one of the forward spots. But hey, I'm not JB Bickerstaff, but I do have a right of an opinion. But here's a fact. The Cavaliers got another win, another big win against a really talented Houston Rockets team. Be on the lookout for Houston. They could be a sleeper team in the Western Conference. Speaking of the West, we are going to the Sacramento Kings, where the Kings continue to be dominant at home, but they didn't have a complete win against Washington. I'll explain why coming up next on Let 'Em Know Kings United. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings United, and the Sacramento Kings continue to win and continue to be dominant at the Golden One Center, who are now 10-3 in their home court after a 143-131 win over the Washington Wizards. Now, I'm going to be a little skeptical in this segment, so I want you to pardon a little bit of my negative Nancy attitude when it comes to talking about the win. Now, I don't mind the win, right? Like I talked about in the last segment, we found a way to win against a team that we were supposed to win. And at the end of the day, you're going to win games against teams that you're supposed to beat. And in Washington's case, they were a team that you were supposed to beat. But when you allow the Washington Wizards to get confidence in the fourth quarter and you allow the Washington Wizards to outscore you 40 to 31 in the fourth quarter, which at one point the Washington Wizards had, I think, 91 some odd points, and you allow them to get 131, especially near the end of the game, that's a problem for me. It's not a big problem, but it's a problem nonetheless. I mean, I get it was garbage time, and I get that Mike Brown had to get the starters out of here. They had to rest De'Aaron Fox. They had to rest Domantas Sabonis. They had to rest Kevin Huerter. They had to rest Keegan Murray. I get it. But the bench for the Sacramento Kings, I feel like they did a really bad job of closing out this game, because I think the bench unit disrespected the Washington Wizards. The starters did what they needed to do, but I think the bench unit, for the most part, disrespected the Washington Wizards, because whether the Washington Wizards were a good team, whether they were a decent team, or whether they are a garbage team, even though they are not completely a garbage team in my opinion, because Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma are absolute straight up scorers. You needed to learn how to lock in for 48 minutes and stay within your system. I think the bench unit for Sacramento did a terrible job at that, because when you are playing a 4-20 team like the Washington Wizards, you're supposed to hold them to under 100 points. Giving up 131, I think, to me, is unacceptable. I mean, at the end of the day, a W is a W, and I'm not going to complain into that, but I just found it unacceptable that the Washington Wizards scored 131 points in a game where the Sacramento Kings completely dominated as far as the offensive end goes. But with that being said, though, the main story was Domantas Sabonis, a career best for Domantas, of his 35th career triple-double in this game. 28 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But we cannot forget the fact that De'Aaron Fox is absolutely him. If he's not in your MVP conversation, I mean, what the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing? You're not watching the game of basketball if you don't think De'Aaron Fox deserves to be in the MVP conversation, because he does. He scored 12 of his 30 points during the Kings' 46-point third quarter, and Keegan Murray added 25 big points on a night where 6 Kings scored in double figures. De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, Harrison Barnes, and of course, Mr. Triple-Double at this freaking point, Domantas Sabonis. As the Sacramento Kings won for the 4th time in the previous 5 games. That type of offense bodes well for a Kings team trying to make back-to-back playoff appearances after an NBA record 16-year drought. I say if they continue this type of offense, if they continue to flow like this, my God, they gonna have some problems trying to stop the rest of the NBA. I'm talking to the rest of the NBA here. If the Sacramento Kings continue to roll, we gonna cause a lot of problems for the rest of the league. De'Aaron Fox said, when you have multiple guys playing at a high level in the same game, it's extremely hard to beat us. We want to be able to consistently be able to play at this level. That's the type of work we put in. We're just continuing to play the right way, and we continue to go out and become a better defensive team. I will say this, the defense of the Sacramento Kings has improved this year. Not dramatically, but they are better than what they were last year. Sabonis fell 3 assists or fewer shy of a triple-double in his previous games. He had an extra motivation against Washington. The game one day before his father's birthday, his father, which I cannot pronounce his name, is a former NBA player and Hall of Famer who spent 7 seasons with the Portland Trailblazers. Domas said, just trying to play the right way, being aggressive and just reading the game. Tonight, I really wanted to get it. My present is going to be delayed, so hopefully the win and a triple-double counts. And I mean, hey, Domantas, you got to take whatever you can get, right? The Wizards put up a tough challenge before fading in the end. Washington shot better than 50% overall, made 18 3-pointers, and allowed only 8 points off of 12 turnovers. So at this point, I gotta give Washington credit. I mean, they're a 4-20 team, but they are a better team than what the record is, right? They are better than what the record is. I mean, Jordan Poole matched his career high with 8 3-pointers and scored 28 points for Washington. Kyle Kuzma added 27. However, the Wizards have now lost 17 of its last 19 games. Sabonis is not included his 8th straight double-double and 21st in 25 games. The triple-double was his 17th in a Kings uniform, the most in the franchise's era in Sacramento, California. Mike Brown said Domas was straight up monster. Him playing the right way with the people we have on this team, he can fall into a triple-double. Honestly, Mike Brown, if he had to, if he wanted to, he could have ate the Washington Wizards up for dinner at this point. He could have had his triple-double walking in already. But Jordan Poole, who has scored in double figures in his 9 of the last 10 games, kept the Wizards close, but Washington was never getting over the hump. Jordan Poole said about the Sacramento Kings, they just look more together. They've been building this for 7-8 years. They have all the right pieces. I will say this, Jordan Poole, this is why you are an NBA champion. This is why you are one of the best players in the world. For you to have that much respect for a team like Sacramento, a team that has been scratching and clawing for the last 16 plus years to find the right team, to find the right coach, to find the right system, getting back into the playoffs, that is amazing to see. But I will say this though, now I think that the Sacramento Kings will have a big test. Because now I think the biggest test for Sacramento is tonight against Boston. The best team in the Eastern Conference, if not the entire NBA, with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. But let me tell you something. The matchup that I am envisioning right now with De'Aaron Fox versus Jason Tatum, you better grab your popcorn, you better grab your snacks, you better grab your midnight coffee, you better do what you got to do, because that matchup will go absolutely crazy in the Golden One Center tonight. You already know I'm watching that after I watch the Bulls. The Kings shot 53% for the field. The Wizards shot 51%. the three-point percentage, the Wizards surprisingly were a much better team than Sacramento in that regard, 47% compared to 39. The free throw numbers, 83% for Washington, 76% or 77 for the Sacramento Kings. The rebounds were 42-39 in favor of the Sacramento Kings. The assists 35-26 in favor of the Kings. The steals were 8-3 in favor of the Kings. The blocks 6-5 in favor of Washington. The points in the paint 64-46 in favor of Sacramento. They have dominated the Washington Wizards inside all night long. The fast break points pretty even, 15-15, but the biggest difference was the fact that the Kings just got whatever the hell they wanted from inside the paint area. Kyle Kuzma did really well for Washington. He had 27 points, 3 for 7 from 3, with 8 rebounds, an assist, and a block. Jordan Poole, the former longtime Golden State Warrior, finished with 28 points, 2 assists on the night, 8 of 13 from 3, shot 10 of 18 from the field. Domas, well, he could be an all-star at this point. 28 points, a plus-minus, a plus 25, 13 rebounds, 12 assists. He also had a block. And he was 1 for 1 from 3. 5 or 6 from the foul line. I mean, come on. De'Aaron Fox, MVP. 30 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. Keegan, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 of 7 from three-point range. He still got that stroke. He still got that stroke for the other night against Utah. Kevin Huerter, finally, he broke out of his shell. 11 points. 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Harrison Barnes finished with 19 points. And a steal. His plus-minus a plus 22. Malik Monk, as usual, 10 points. He didn't have his best night, but he did finish with 6 assists and a rebound. A lot of guys contributed. It was a good team win, and even Toscano Anderson got his first 2 points as a Sacramento King. He finished with 2 points and a rebound with just 5 minutes of game time. But hey, Sacramento got a win that they were supposed to get. And I didn't really like how Washington scored 131. I think the Sacramento Kings would need to work on locking in for the full 48. However, I will not take away from the fact that they got a win over the Washington Wizards, a team that they were supposed to beat, but they're in for a big test though against the Boston Celtics tonight at 10 p.m. at Golden One Center. I cannot wait for that. Coming up next, the shocker of the night belongs in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where the Chicago Bulls got an upset win over the Philadelphia 76ers, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and the Bulls pulled off an upset. We're going to talk about them next on Let 'Em Know Kings United. Final segment here on Let 'Em Know Kings United, and I am so hyped talking about this next team that I'm actually wearing my new Chicago Bulls hat and jacket that I recently got before recording this show, because the Chicago Bulls pulled off another upset on the road, defeating the Philadelphia 76ers by a final score of 108-104, ending a 6-game winning streak for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, mind you, the Sixers' previous 5 wins were coming off against the Washington Wizards, the Pistons twice, the Charlotte Hornets, and Atlanta. Now, the only good or decent team in the previous last 5 stretches for the Philadelphia 76ers was the Atlanta Hawks. Washington, Charlotte, Detroit are absolute garbage. Now, mind you, you have to play whoever's on your schedule like I mentioned. But my God! If there is something that I want to mention about the Philadelphia 76ers before I talk about the Bulls, is they might have one of the easiest schedules in the NBA. But let me tell you something. Nick Nurse, he's got the Philadelphia 76ers playing in the right direction. He is a hell of a coach, and they are much better without James Harden. But it is about the Chicago Bulls and Kobe White, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm trying to tell you people. He is an all-star. He scored 24 points, and the Bulls held on to snap the Philadelphia 76ers 6-game winning streak. Former Sixer Nikola Vucevic chipped in 23 points, while DeMar DeRozan added 15 for the Bulls. Vooch said this: all of us are supporting each other, and it's contagious. Who also had 8 rebounds and shot 10 of 18 from the floor. We won some games, so that helps too. We're only 11 and 17, but hopefully we're on a good path and we can continue that way. Vooch, let me tell you something. You might be 11 and 17, but the way you guys are playing right now, you're playing like you're 17 and 11. That's how much I've seen the Chicago Bulls improve so far this year. Could it be that Zach LaVine's gone? That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. But at the end of the day, I'm seeing how this Bulls team has improved and has improved dramatically. The Bulls have won 6 of their last 9, even though they are playing without All-Star Zach LaVine, who has been sidelined with left foot inflammation and is likely still a little bit away from returning. And honestly, if you are the Chicago Bulls, you might as well trade Zach LaVine right now. You might as well trade Zach LaVine right now. I don't care where he's going to go. I don't want him back in Chicago. I don't want to see him in a Bulls uniform again. Now I did hear that the LA Lakers is likely the trade destination for Zach LaVine. To be perfectly honest with y'all, after the Lakers play the Bulls tonight, you can have Zach LaVine, Lakers. You can have him. I don't want him. I don't want Zach LaVine, and probably all of Bulls Nation that is listening to this right now, you might agree with me. You might agree with me on this. I don't want Zach LaVine anywhere near a Chicago Bulls jersey when he comes back. Because right now, Chicago is playing a lot better without him. Now, a big part of the trade talk took a big and a really tragic turn when Torrey Craig, the spark plug on the defensive end, he is now out 8 to 10 weeks with a major injury to his foot. I hope he does. I hope he recovers, and I hope he gets back on the court soon. But that injury kind of like now stalls the trade conversation with Zach LaVine. But anyway, Billy Donovan said this: we competed well against better teams like the Milwaukee's, the 76ers. The Bulls face good teams now. Even they face Toronto, who was a decent team, and Boston, who is one of the best teams in the NBA. It's a matter for us maintaining more consistency. The ups and downs of the games are going to happen for every team, and I like the way that we are responding. Joel Embiid had 40 and 13 rebounds. His 11th straight game with 30 or more points and 10 more boards. Tyrese Maxey added 29 points for the 76ers. And I will say the 76ers are a much better team without James Harden. And more specifically, Tyrese Maxey is looking better without James Harden. But the 76ers have been dealt the first loss to a team without a winning record after starting 12-0 against the sub-500 teams. No other Sixers player were able to crack double figures. I mentioned before that the Bulls had an opportunity to make this a trap game for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I feel that the Bulls have accomplished that. Nick Nurse said we were just a half step behind on some stuff, and they beat us to some rebounds. Some of our defensive stuff, while good at times, wasn't enough on others, and we just didn't get good enough individual players performances around the horn that we've been getting. The 76ers, previous 5 wins, came by an average of 31.8 points. But Chicago overcame a 12-point deficit thanks to Coby White's hot shooting in the first half when he scored 16 points and the Bulls opened a 55-44 lead. White is averaging 23 points in Chicago's last 9 games. Like, are you kidding me? If that doesn't scream all-star material for Coby White, what are we doing here? White said, I knew that, or Vooch said about Coby White, I knew that he was capable of doing this, but obviously when Zach went down, he became aggressive and taking advantage of this situation. I'm really happy for him. He's a great guy who's always working hard in the gym and getting better. The margin would swell to 12 after 3 quarters before the 76ers bench climbed their way back into the game and gave Philadelphia a brief 89-87 lead. However, the Bulls were able to shrug it off and answer with a 13-2 run that gave the Bulls an 8-point lead with just 3 minutes to play. DeRozan hit 3 of 4 free throws in the game's winning seconds, and Philadelphia's last attempt to tie or take the lead fell short when Embiid couldn't finish with Vucevic and White collapsing down on him in the lane. I felt that the rotation on that play between Vooch and Coby White was absolutely outstanding. And Billy Donovan said the most important thing right now for us is 5 guys connected. If you don't have that and the talent level is equal or what you or you are undermanned, you have 0 chance to win. None. So I think the most important thing has been the sharing of the basketball, the moving it and covering for each other. I will give you credit, Billy Donovan. I will give you credit on the fact that you have the Bulls more connected than ever before. You have this team playing better. You have doubted. You have proven me wrong. But I still want to see us connected and playing and staying together, especially against the Lakers team tonight, which I totally expect LeBron and AD to totally get theirs. The Bulls shot 47% for the field, 43% for Philadelphia. The three-point percentage, 41% for the Bulls, 34% for the 76ers. The rebounds were 45-44 in favor of the Bulls. The assist numbers, 24-23 Bulls. Steals, 8-7 Sixers. The blocks, 9-8 Bulls. The points in the paint, 46-44 Chicago. Fast break points tied at 13 apiece. And the Bulls won every quarter except the fourth. Outstanding. Just totally outstanding. If there was a most improved team for the month of November heading into December, I say give it to the Chicago Bulls right now. Prove me wrong, but give it to the Bulls. Coby White, all-star, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He almost had a double, if not a triple-double in this game. He was 2 for 6 from three-point range. So the winning streak, or the streak of 3 or more threes made by Coby White, unfortunately snapped in this game. However, he continues his streak of 20-point games. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Nikola Vucevic, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists for him. DeMar DeRozan, Compton's in the house. 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. P. Will continues to develop big time. 13 points and 6 big rebounds. Off the bench, I thought Javon Carter was huge, especially from three-point range. He was 4 for 8 from 3. He had 12 points on the night. Alex Caruso, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Please let him come off the bench, Billy Donovan. I don't want him to start another game and let him get injured again. As far as the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey finished with 29 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. Joel Embiid, 40 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 blocks on the night. But overall, it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough for the 76ers, and the Bulls not only got an upset win, but a great team win against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends. Give give Let 'em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you right back here for another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United.